Right, so I came across this question on Stack Overflow where somebody's trying to convert text to speech and they're trying to use this module. So the module's over here and I'm going to zoom in so that it's all a bit bigger, which is PyTTSX3. Text to speech library for Python 2 and 3. Basically everyone always uses Python 3. Python 2 is legacy. Works without internet connection or delay. Okay, that's interesting because if it works without an internet connection, is it down? I wonder how much it's actually downloading. Okay, supports multiple TTS engines, including SAPI 5, NSSS, and eSpeak. So I don't know what they are, but we'll go and see, in turn. But anyway, the first thing is, here's kind of like some sample text that's over there, and I wonder if that's a sample text that's from here. I'm not sure that it is. But I can try using that sample text anyway. But the first thing is if you notice over here, if we hover over it, it says import PyTTX3 could not be resolved. So we've got to do a pip install. But just remembering something, which is that we've got to do a Python or py -m and then pip install. That's the way to install to the correct version of Python. Otherwise it might install to another version of Python, and I've got a few versions of Python on my system. So I might close this up as well because we don't need that. Close that. There we go. So just run that little tab and I guess see how long the installation takes. Hopefully it's quite fast. Collecting some packages. It's all done. That's it. It's pip installed, and hopefully in a few seconds this triple underscore will disappear. But actually also it says if you receive errors such as no module named Win client, no module named Win32, or no module named Win32 API, you will need to additionally install PyWin. PyWin32. I could go and take a look. I think it's pip. Oops, if I need to click on the right thing here. Right, pip freeze, hit return, and let's just have a look at, maybe I've got this PyWin32 installed. Scroll to let P. It's not looking like it. Maybe I've got one of the other ones installed, Win32 client, for example. PQRSTBW. I don't have any Win32s either, so it might fail. What I'm going to do initially, because I don't even know, well, I could have a run of this actually. Input, okay, and then let's just try and run this. Let's see what happens. I'm going to run it. I'll keep the terminal open. Why not? And well, I'll run it in the IntelliJ Explorer. So let's do a control return. Let's see what happens there. Connecting to Python. The interactive. This is interactive Python. So enter text to be spoken. Let's just put in a hello world and hit return.
Hello world.
And there we go. Okay, it looks like it's all working. So I didn't need to do any further installations, although I didn't see these things in my pip freeze. So we had a hello world running. I'll close that up. Interestingly, no module named PyWin32. Maybe I did have it and I didn't see it. No, because it would be somewhere around here if it was there. But nevertheless, it does work. So that's it. I wonder if what else is there, because the instructions has got a usage here, which is import this, and then create an engine, and then engine.say, and then engine.run and wait. So just let's see what the Stack Overflow bit is here. It's got the same thing. It's got the engine.say text and the engine.run and wait. And the way that it actually came about in the question was that, well, they've actually created a function here, and this function takes in this text. So, and what goes here is the text is text equals input. The text that is going to speak is coming from this input box, and then it goes and calls this function. And there's things like set property rate and so forth. If I probably have to scroll down a little bit just to see the rest of this. I wonder. Okay, so the default is 200 for setting the speed. Get property rates. Okay, so it's getters and setters by the looks of it. Set property volume as well. Set property volume. So in the documentation on the side, just here where I've highlighted it, it's got set property volume to 1, so here it's got 0.7. I don't know what the upper and lower bounds is. I probably have to look around and see a bit more about that. So we can change the volume, we can change the rate. Let's go back and put in the default value, which is 200, and I'll just hit F5 to run it this time. Enter text to be spoken, so we'll do the same hello world so we can compare it. Hit return.
Hello world.
Okay, not much of a difference. Maybe if we make it like, I don't know, 50, and then run it. I might actually run it in the interactive Python just because it will stop opening up the Explorer on the side. So let's just try again, and also I can copy and paste some values. It's a bit easier. The interactive Python just makes life a tiny bit easier, that's all. So we can put in the hello world. I've made this 100 this time, 50, the rate 50, so let's just see what happens.
Hello world.
Okay, so that gets much slower. So the default is 200. So if you want it to be super fast, then maybe you might have it at something like 400. So I guess one of the things to do is make a relative speed. So again, I'll do a control return to run it and type in hello world. And hit
Hello world.
And then it goes super fast. And one thing that I'm going to do here is, instead of putting enter text to be spoken, I'm just going to overwrite that and go text equals hello world, because it's just a little bit easier for the purpose of coding. So I'm going to just comment that out, although that's a nice thing to have. But what we did notice when we ran that was that it ran super fast.
Hello world.
So that's super fast. So so this is our speed setting over there, and actually what I'm going to do, because that for, yeah, there's 4 spaces. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Indentation of 5. Naughty person. So Shift Tab. There we go. Let's move it all back to the correct number of indentation. And what I'll do is I'll put a rate in here. Speech rate equals something like, I guess, well, 200 is the default, as we already know, so that's the speed setting. And then, like, if we want it to be faster, well, I mean, I don't know if there's any advantage of doing that. I was going to make a multiplier in there, sort of like, but I guess given that we know that 200 is the default, yeah, it might complicate things more. So maybe the same thing. I don't know. Can the volume go above 1? We can try, say, 1.5, and also just make it closer. So maybe 300 there. See what that sounds like.
Hello world.
So that just makes it a little bit louder. And that was still a little bit fast, actually. So 250. There we go. It looks like the defaults are perfectly fine. So.
Hello world.
And, well, I will keep you that. Finally, what the actual
Hello world
wanted to do, so that's kind of like, it looks like the defaults are pretty fine. What the user actually wanted to do was train this or have this speak in their own voice as opposed to have it in like effectively this default voice. But I don't think this particular module opens or shows us that, so or gives us that option. I'm just scrolling down. Let's have a look. Voices. I mean, there is a voices. Okay, getting details of current voice. Changing index. Changing voices. 0 for male, 1 for female. Okay, let's just try some voices out, I guess. So, and it looks like here. I mean, where is it? The run and wait comes at the end, so you do all of your settings beforehand. So we'll just try and do some voices, I guess. Engine.getProperty voices. Okay. I could just copy all of this text. So and paste it in here, and I'll have to do a tab because Python needs tabs. One of the most annoying things is that the tabbing in Python. Okay, so basically you're either going to have a male or a female. I believe the second one down here was a female. If we let's scroll across, so let's see that there's female. This should be 0, I presume, and not O. So that's going to be 0. And what I'll do is, I was going to copy that across. X 0 for male, or comment that, and 1 for, well, let's cut that out actually. There we go. X 1 for female. So now we've got male or female voices, so we've chosen a female, but we were getting a female anyway. I think the female was the default one, so I'm not sure that anything would have changed. We can still run it. Oops, I pressed an F5 to run it. That's going
Hello world.
So it did the same thing, used the female voice. So now let's just try and use the male voice by uncommenting the male one and commenting out the female voice and see what happens there.
Hello world.
Well, that didn't change it. So it certainly didn't change it from a male to a female. So
Hello world.
I think it might change it from American to English, if anything. Let's just try that again. F5.
Hello world.
Yeah, I think it's changed it from American to English. So, and I highly doubt that this would be an O. I was going to say maybe I've like jumped the gun, but it's actually an index. So it's going to give an index out of bounds if I did a 0. Sorry, if I did an O here and not a 0. You know, well, it's already showing that, so you know I'm not even going to bother because we know that's already highlighted there as being an index out of bound. So what else can we do? Current speaking rate. Okay. On Linux, well, I'm not on Linux, I'm on Windows, but make sure that eSpeak and FFmpeg are installed. So, okay, there's extra bits there for if you're running it on a different environment. But that's really it, I guess. So that is Python. There's some text to speech. TTSX, I guess, text to speech, synthetic speech, as I think. It's a text to speech in Python. There's no male voice that I know of. I don't know, maybe one thing that we could, I don't know how many voices are in the engine, but maybe if I try voice number 2, I could do voices, so like print voices. Maybe we could see all of them if there is voices there. Print voices, I don't know what will come back. It's going to be a list basically. I could do for voice invoice print voices, print voice, but let's just see what comes back. That should be a list of everything. I'll run it here. Okay, list index out of range. Why is that? Okay, so there's only 2 voices there. That's probably what that is. Yeah, it is, because it's pointing to line number 17 here. So it's giving a list index out of range there. It's telling us it doesn't let that. So there's only 2 voices available. Maybe one can put in more voices. So,
Hello world.
And also when I printed that list now, but that's just printing, well, it's printed 2 items basically. But they look like memory addresses. Yeah, it's an object at a certain point in the memory, and they're 2 different memory addresses, so that's what they are. So it doesn't look like there's any extra functionality on that. So I kind of leave it there, I guess. We've got a working version. I don't know, choose between American and English, but this is Python text to speech. If you do know how to get your own voice into this, please do leave a comment, because that would be quite helpful. That was actually the original Stack Overflow question. So if you know how to do that, please go ahead and leave a comment. Also, if you've got any other questions, leave comments. If you could like the video, that'd be really, really helpful. And if you could follow and subscribe, that would be quite useful too as well, because yeah, it will help me continue making these videos. And that's basically it. So yeah, Python's text to speech.